a top 10 list of college football coaches coming up here for the 2025 season. Pro Football Focus broke it down, and I would say a lot of these names make sense. Couple might surprise you all out there. So, Danny, I know that, like, you know who these coaches are, like a Kirby Smart, a Dan Lanning, a Ryan Day, James Franklin, Kalen DeBoer type. I want to see if you can guess where these guys sit in the top 10. So I've got 1 through 10, and specifically, let's start with 1, Dan Lanning for Oregon. Where do you think he sits in Pro Football Focus's top 10 of coaches?
Well, that one's the one I saw because it was tagged as far as that. I know he sits at 4. And that if the ESPN one, so this is PFS from today. ESPN had theirs out in May.
Yeah.
And Lanning, I think, was 6th. He was 6th on the ESPN. So if you've got Lanning somewhere from 4 to 7, I think you can make the argument in there because the top 3 to me are going to be the top 3 because titles.
Yeah.
Like that's where you go. Like, do you have a title? Well, Ryan Day's got one. Kirby Smart's got one. Dabo's got one.
And you just named the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd on the list. So there you go. And that would mean you are correct, Danny, that Dan Lanning is, according to Pro Football Focus, 4th on the list. No national title.
No, like I said, anywhere from 4 to 7.
Yeah.
You want to put James Franklin up there. You want to put Dan Lanning up there. You want to put Sarkisian up there. You want to put Kyle Winningham up there.
Sarkisian's actually not on the list.
On there. So ESPN, I think they had ESPN had Sarkisian 5th.
Oh, nope, sorry, he is on there. My bad. I skipped over his name.
You want to put Marcus Freeman on there.
Marcus Freeman is also on there.
Again, you can, whatever you're going off of, whatever your preferred thing is, you can make a justification for basically any of those coaches 4 through 7, 4 through 8.
So do you, are people going to get offended if Dan Lanning, say, is ranked 4th above a Marcus Freeman, who's 5, and Steve Sarkisian at 6? Like, Lanning has had more success at Oregon than Marcus Freeman has had at Notre Dame. 85% of his games have been wins.
Have the Ducks been a national championship game under Dan Lanning?
Under Dan Lanning? No, but they've made 2 in program history.
But Marcus Freeman has.
I understand that.
That's the thing. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong.
They don't have conference championships to win either.
No, but I'm saying it all depends on how you move the slider of like to me, like when you're talking about college football coaches, the short list is, have you won a title? If you've won a title, you're stamped. It's damn near impossible to do.
Yep.
So if you've got one, cool, you're up there. After you get past that, there's the next group of coaches that everybody would consider the cream of the crop in college football. I think once you get outside that group, that 4 through 8, whatever that is, that's where it gets interesting. Like if you're going 9 through 15, the swath gets a lot wider. And again, it all depends on what you want, what you're looking at. Are you looking at longevity? Are you looking at what program expectations are? Are you looking at up-and-comers? Are you looking at offensive mastermind? Are you looking at consistency? Are you looking at recruiting? You're looking at how well they've adjusted to the new NIL landscape. Like there's so many different things that you can kind of throw in there. And that's why I think the coaches that are in that 4 through 8 swath, you can say that they can mark the boxes on basically everything. Like if you're talking about Freeman and their recruiting and how well they've done at Notre Dame and going to the national championship game and doing it in a style that's vastly different than everybody. It's like Notre Dame hasn't had a quarterback that is a Heisman finalist because of this great quarterback.
Yeah.
Riley Leonard's a battering ram who happened to throw the ball every now and then.
It's true.
But the prospects they're putting in the NFL in the trenches year after year after year is just there. You look at a guy like Sarkisian. They've put basically more people in the NFL than anybody else over the last 5 years, not named Georgia or Alabama.
And he's turned Texas around. That was a program in flux before.
Texas is back. And look, Sark has knocks on him, He had issues.
Yes, the alcoholism.
And he goes back and does the rehab tour with Saban, Alabama. You can throw Lane Kiffin in that next group of like the only 10-win seasons in Ole Miss's program history are with Lane Kiffin.
And actually, that's one I think we get to. So really quickly, just to recap for everybody listening, I know we're not visual. Kirby Smart at 1, Ryan Day at 2, Dabo Swinney at 3, Dan Lanning at 4, Marcus Freeman at 5, and Steve Sarkisian at 6. At 7, it's where I start to have some questions a little bit, and that would be one Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. I'm not saying he's not an elite coach, but you talk about a guy like Lane Kiffin, he's not even on this list, and I wonder if maybe like a Kurt Signetti with the season he had at Indiana, if he should be above a Kalen DeBoer. I'm starting to question maybe if it's just more program prestige at the bottom of the list other than a Kurt Cignetti, because I don't think Brian Kelly's still in the top 10 in my opinion. I just don't.
I think you can make an argument for it.
Okay.
Again, that part of it is very real. ESPN's list from May, again, has DeBoer at 7.
Okay.
So, and the interesting thing about Kalen DeBoer, he was 67-3 at NAIA.
Mm-hmm.
And then his D1, he's 46-13. And against top 25 teams at Washington and Alabama, he is 15-3.
And
getting it done when it matters.
Exactly. And 25-3 in 2 years at Washington, why Alabama hired him in the first freaking place.
And his down year was a 9-win team at Alabama when a bunch of players defected after Saban left.
And they've got a big defense coming back too.
And their Alabama's recruiting class is right there yet again. You're not dropping off there. So if you want to make the argument for DeBoer, his argument to me is right there with Dan Lanning.
Okay.
So again, the 4 through 8 swath, like you can move guys around however you want to, and I'm not really going to argue with you depending on which one you want to put where. It's a justification of what you like or what expectations are, or everything that kind of goes along with that. Whether you're talking about Oregon, you're talking about Notre Dame, you're talking about Alabama, you're talking about Texas, like, yeah, those are teams that you expect to be right there.
What about James Franklin at Penn State? I mean,
exact same group.
They've had more of a recent resurgence, though. That's not something like since Joe Pa, it's been a program not really in flux, but just in the bottom of the barrel.
He's 101-42 at Penn State.
What has he been there? 10, 11 years?
Yeah.
So I this is why I think it's maybe a little bit more program prestige. Like I see Lane Kiffin being like put at maybe 12 through 15 in Pro Football Focus's mind. I don't know. I guess there's really not that much of an issue if one guy's rated over the other at the beginning of the season, but like
it all depends on what you're looking at.
But last year, didn't we hear about James Franklin being on the hot seat because he couldn't win big games? To throw him in as a top 10 coach come next season, that just confuses me.
That doesn't to me. I mean, when you're talking about Penn State's right now the favorite to win the Big Ten.
Yes,
now,
they are.
If they fall short of those expectations,
gotcha.
And Drew Aller doesn't take the step that people think he might take and all those kind of things, like he may just be a really good coach and not a great coach. But you take a look around college football right now, we are in kind of it's a number one, a coaching change because of how coaching is done in the NFL. Like you have general managers now that help you build your roster, and you can't just be a coordinator. Like you have to have this diversification of skills that was not asked of coaches previously. And so there's sliders to these things of like what coaches can and can't do. Like how much do you like? My criticism of Lincoln Riley at USC was that he was not involved in recruiting.
Yeah.
It was a major problem, and what it has been a major problem for USC. Yeah, he brought over the transfer classes and all those things, and like they were great for a year, but then what? Well, they go out and they go steal Notre Dame's general manager, and now USC is the number one recruiting class in the country. Like everybody knows what Lincoln can do offensively, but defensively, those are the kind of questions. Those are the same kind of questions that pop up at Oklahoma. And like those are the things when you talk about right now, the depth of coaching in college football may be the best it's ever been. The fact that Kurt Cignetti is on this list it's both impressive, and to some people like, well, he only did it 1 year at Indiana. It's like, do you not know what he did at James Madison?
It was his first year at Indiana, man.
He took a program up a step and made them into a legitimate team. Then he brought most of the roster from James Madison to Indiana and had a playoff team. Like that, if that's not coaching, what the hell is?
Do you think that coaches, though, especially at the top like this, they lean more on like quarterback development and transfer portal moves? Like is it true coaching here? Like, I know Dan Lanning's a great recruiter, but like, how much is it coaching and how much is it just developing a great quarterback and then getting in the transfer portal before anybody else does?
I mean, he brings O'Rourke with him. Like that's the thing. And you talk about quarterback play. Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. Riley Leonard's not slinging the ball around the park.
No, he was not.
It all depends on what you're building and how you build it and how you adapt to it and what you change around and Dabo's been one of the guys, well, he's won a national title and had Deshaun Watson and had Trevor Lawrence and had some of the best quarterbacks in the country. They're doing it in different ways. Now they've got Cade Klubnik, and you can make an argument, but he may be the best returning starter in college football.
Yeah.
You know what? Screw it. He is the best returning starter in college football. Like, he's the I was going to say Drew Aller. I'm like, I don't believe that. So no, I'm not like, I'll eat all the crow if Drew Aller turns into a dude. I don't believe he's going to be a great, perfectly good, even very good college quarterback. But like, those are the things, like, when you talk about having to navigate the transfer portal and how you build your roster and not dealing with the transfer portal, which Dabo finally acquiesced to, like, those are the things that you look at. Mario Cristobal and his recruiting, what's going on down at Miami and Florida State and the S show around them and NIL and the contracts. Like, there's so many things. I mean, you're the head coach at Florida State. You were talking about he was going to be the guy, and then the Jordan Travis injury falls apart, and they don't make it into the college football playoff, and then they have this huge setback the next year because they haven't built this culture and they haven't done the recruiting the right way. It's like,
Norvell got turned on pretty quickly,
right? Like, he was the next hot thing. And if you look at the rest of these guys, like, well, you're like, well, Kalen hasn't been at Alabama for that long. Yeah, but his track record at Washington is really good.
And he came in and he's had a 9-win season to start. That ain't bad.
No, so it's like it all depends on how you want to view it. The guys that have won national titles, they aren't unassailable, but they're stamped. If one of these guys, if James Franklin wins a national title, if Dan Lanning wins a national title, if Sarkisian wins a national title, they're going to elevate. And Ryan Day, remember, like, there was calls for his head.
Yep, and now he's 2 above Dabo. Because Dabo's honestly a little bit of an old school flavor when you talk about successful championship coaches.
And
he just is.
You win a national title, you probably buy yourself damn near a decade.
Okay.
So
if Dan Lanning wins one, just to throw that out there. I'm not saying that
he's the greatest coach in Oregon Ducks history.
No, but where does he sit on this list? He's at 4 right now. Does he go to 2? No, he doesn't move. Yeah. But if James Franklin wins one, he goes to 4.
Yeah, I think that's the spot. Like, if you want to knock Dabo down because his is more, not as recent and in a not a different era, but it was a different era. If you want to do that, that's fine.
Yeah,
but I don't think you can take Kirby out of that spot unless you're Nick Sabaning it. Like, that's just Kirby Smart right now is the best coach in college football.
I mean, I have no arguments with that. I think if anybody does, like, you don't have to be an SEC honk to understand that.
No, and that's fine. Like, having Dan Lanning as your coach, I've said this so many freaking times. Lanning that is what has got me to buy into what the Ducks are doing.
Yep. Got a lot of guys to buy in, frankly.
Like, the way he's recruited, the way he's rebuilt that team, the way he has structured that team, whether it's in the recruiting or the transfer portal, the style, the mentality, the tone, all that stuff, it emanates from him throughout his entire staff.
He has transformed that program. And I would say outside of Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, every single coach on that top 10 list has transformed their program.
And that's
it.
You can make the same. Indiana is not a football school.
Not even close.
And yet here they are because Cignetti and what he's been able to do. So you give him that credit.
It's going to be fun to see this year, 2025, who climbs, who crashes, who holds the throne. Is it going to be Kirby Smart at Georgia forever? I mean, I don't think so. But a list of top 10 coaches, Dan Lanning sitting at 4. Sounds like both Danny and I think that that's right where he should be.